Hello everyone. The topic today we will discuss is from Jurisprudence, and the name of the topic is negligence. What is negligence? Okay, so this is the name of the topic. Now, jurists have defined negligence in different ways. Like, for example, Salmond observed that negligence is culpable carelessness. To quote him, negligence is the state of mind of undue indifference towards one's conduct and its consequences. It is carelessness. It is carelessness in the matter in which carefulness is obligatory under the law. Carelessness excludes wrongful intention. So, according to Salmond, negligence is the state of mind. Like, for example, if a person's duty is to keep a water tank clean and hygiene, the breach of this duty will arise when the person fails to do so. That is, if the person fails to keep the water tank clean and hygiene with proper treatment, which caused waterborne diseases to the persons who consumed the water from the tank. It is an example of undue indifference. Because the person, let's say, was negligent to do his duty and was indifferent towards his conduct and its consequences. Suppose that person was extremely indifferent due to negligence, and because of this, he could not think about the consequences. Due to the negligence of the person who was supposed to keep the water tank clean and hygiene, people who consumed the water from the tank suffered waterborne diseases. Like, let's say, diarrhea. The people due to this suffered from diarrhea due to the negligence of the person. So here, in other words, in this example, we can say there was lack of carefulness. There was lack of carefulness, and in this case, carefulness was a matter of duty. It was a matter of duty under the law, or we can say it was a legal duty which the person failed to do due to negligence. So, carelessness excludes wrongful intention. It means the intention to commit wrongful act might not be there. It simply means the intention to commit wrongful act might not be there. That is, if we recall the example that we have cited, that particular person who negligently failed to keep the water tank clean and hygienic, he did not do it with the mala fide intention. He did not do it with the mala fide intention or in bad faith, but it was done because of negligence. Let's say because of indolence, that is laziness, due to laziness, okay, he committed the negligence. And if we see negligence from Salmond's perspective, as negligence is culpable carelessness according to Salmond. We have to understand what culpable carelessness is all about. Culpable carelessness is recklessly acting without reasonable caution and putting another person at risk of injury or death. So, as negligence is culpable carelessness according to Salmond, that means there was absence of such care as it was the duty of the person in the example that we have cited to fulfill his legal duty. Now, to make it clear, let's say A is guilty of negligence. Let's say A is guilty of negligence if he drives furiously into a crowd. It doesn't necessarily consist in thoughtlessness or inadvertence, as inadvertence means something unintentional or something which is unplanned. Such negligent act may be unintentional or unplanned, but it is a matter of carelessness which caused the negligence. Like in this Example, A drive the car furiously into the crowd. In this example, A drive the car furiously into the crowd. A may be a novice. Despite being novice, he drive the car into a crowd. So here, the reasonable care is absent. Now we may ask, what is reasonable care, or the what we call standard of care? Reasonable care means the care which persons having general prudence or wisdom, or the person having rational thinking, who would think about cautiousness, who would think about the fatal consequences it may cause if care or cautiousness is not taken. Or in simple language, reasonable care will be taken by reasonable man, and a reasonable man will think about the consequences before acting. Like for example, as we have seen, A drive car furiously into the crowd. A had no malafide intention or the intention to cause harm to anyone. But A, being a novice or a new driver, could not think about the consequences, or did not think about the consequences. So, two questions we can ask here as far as this example is concerned. Number one, whether A will be considered as a reasonable man, and number two, whether A had malafide intention or not. That is, whether the act of A was pre-planned or not. So here the answer to the first question will be A will not be considered as a reasonable man. Why? Because A did not take reasonable care during driving. Because driving recklessly in a crowd or furiously in a crowd is dangerous, and it may cause serious accidents or even death. And the answer to the second question will be, as far as this example is concerned, A had no pre-planning to commit a wrong. That is, A had no malafide intention to harm anyone. But A did not take reasonable care, which a reasonable person would take while driving through a crowd. Like for example, what will be the reasonable care in this regard? It will be measured seeing the reasonable persons who are supposed to drive on roads. Like such reasonable persons would take reasonable care by slowing down the speed of the car while driving through a crowd. But here A did not take this reasonable care, which reasonable persons would take. So it is an act of negligence, and that is why culpable carelessness. Okay. Now, according to Holland, as we know that he was a very famous jurist, Holland, negligence includes all those shades of inadvertence which result in injury to others, but there is a total absence of consciousness on the part of the doer. Let me repeat it again. According to Holland, negligence includes all those shades of inadvertence which result in injury to others, but there is a total absence of consciousness on the part of the doer. So, according to Holland, negligence includes all those shades of inadvertence which result in injury to others. So, according to Holland, negligence is unintentional, we can say. Or we can say, according to Holland, negligence is unplanned. But when negligence manifests, it results in injury to others. Like for example, if A is having the legal duty to deliver the goods to the buyer B, and if A negligently did not send the goods to B in the prescribed period of time, let's say B faced huge financial loss because not only B the buyer paid the half amount of money, but let's say at the same time B was supposed to resell the goods. So due to the negligence of A the seller, B the buyer faced huge financial loss. So here A had no pre-planned intention to harm, or had no intention to cause a financial loss to be the buyer. But due to negligence, or we can say or we can say undue or extreme indifference. Due to undue or extreme indifference of A, the seller, B faced huge financial loss. So it caused, the negligence of A caused financial injury to be the buyer. And we can also see in this example that A had total absence of consciousness, that is totally unconscious about the consequences of the negligence due to indolence or laziness. Then comes Justice Willies. According to Justice Willies, negligence is the absence of such care as it was the duty of the defendant to use. I am repeating this again. According to Justice Willies, negligence is the absence of such care as it was the duty of the defendant to use. So it was held in Grill versus General Iron Screw Colliery Company, 1866. I am repeating the name of the case again. Grill versus General Iron Screw Colliery Company, 1866. So Justice Willies used the word defendant here. Let me simplify it, okay? Let me simplify this particular case. So let's say A due to, I'm just citing one example, okay? So let's say A due to reckless driving in the crowd caused injury to B. A due to reckless driving in the crowd caused injury to whom? To B. So B filed a case for just and fair compensation, let's say. As B filed the case in the court of law, B has become what? B has become plaintiff. B filed the case against whom? Against A. So A here is the defendant. And what was the duty of the defendant A here? The duty of the defendant A was to take reasonable care while driving so that injuries could be avoided. But A was negligent, and as such, there was absence of reasonable care from his side. Okay? Clark and Linsdell observed, negligence consists in the omission to take such care as under the circumstances it is the legal duty of a person to take. Now, Clark and Linsdell, they observed negligence consists in the omission to take such care as under the circumstances it is the legal duty of a person to take. Omission is the important word here. Omission is the important word here, which in other words, it means exclusion or excluding, or we can say not performing the duty. So for example, a person's legal duty is to drive carefully to avoid accidents. If this legal duty is not performed, or if it is omitted, and if it caused accident and injuries, then it is the outcome of negligence. Negligence essentially consists in the mental attitude of undue indifference with respect to one's conduct and its consequences. Negligence essentially consists in the mental attitude of undue indifference with respect to one's conduct and its consequences. Now, the term negligence has been defined by Baron Alderson. Okay, the term negligence has been defined by Baron Alderson as the omission to do something which a reasonable man, guided upon those considerations which ordinarily regulate the conduct of human affairs, would do, or doing something which a prudent or reasonable man would not do. It was said by Baron Alderson in Blyth versus Birmingham Water Works Company, 1856 case. Blyth versus Birmingham Water Works Company, 1856 case. So the whole essence of Baron Alderson's definition can be reduced into 2 points here. What a reasonable person will do, and what a reasonable person will not do. And he talked about omission that we have discussed. So a reasonable person will take reasonable care, and the standard of care will be based upon what other reasonable persons will do in such circumstances. Like, for example, a reasonable person is always expected to drive slow in crowded places, and it is an accepted norm, we can say. And if a person recklessly drive in crowded place, then it is not an example of reasonable care.